Hey guys, welcome to the Gods Unchained beta with the Professor. Alright, it's time for our Monday Mythic meta for the ranked weekend event that ran on April 9, 10, and 11. Let's go and take a look at the results. Alright, here are our top players. We can see 4 players had 24 wins and 5 players had 23 wins. So that means there's one spot, the 10th spot, yet to be determined. We'll find out who gets the 10th spot when the official results are published later this week. But as you can see, we have plenty of candidates with 22 wins hoping to get that 10th spot for the extra prizes. We had 4 players, each with a shot at a perfect weekend, but fell just one game short. In our top 20, the majority chose to play Magic. We have 10 players out of the 20 playing a Magic deck. We have 5 players that played Nature, 3 players played Death. We have 1 player each in the top 20 that played Deception and Light, and we did not have a top 20 player that played War. In the top 10, Nature took 1st and 8th place, Deception took 2nd, and Magic cleaned up the rest at 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 10th. So 50% of the top 20 played Magic, and 50% of the top 10 were Magic as well. So there was a little break from Magic, but Magic has shot back up, and that's partly in response to the Nature heavy meta. Magic provides a strong counter to Nature. Our top decks at 24 wins were Magic, Nature, and Deception. At 23 wins, we had Light and Death. And we have the best War deck at 21 wins. Let's take a closer look at the decks. Here's our 24 wins Nature deck. This one's the mid-range version. However, we can see that there's a lot of early game cards here to help fight for the board. We have Chiron, Trial Spirit, and Shield Bearer to provide buffs to the early creatures. You have Double Staff of Roots to help contest the board along with Canopy Barrage. You have Double Hunt Warden to fight off the Jaguars from your opponent. You have a strong 4 mana curve with Wetlands Ogre and Overgrown Rhinos. And you start topping out with double Ironclad Minotaur with the ability to wake up your creatures in case your opponent plays Demogorgons. And you have Helia providing buffs to whatever you have on your board by giving them Ward. One interesting thing on this list that caught my eye was Frenzied Ritual. Usually we don't see Nature players running this in the mid-range version, but this one decided to go with 1 Lightning Strike and 1 Frenzied Ritual instead of double Lightning Strike. Our top Deception deck at 24 wins is the Atlantean Deception deck. This one is a mid-range version with cards going all the way up to 6 and 7 mana. The focus of this deck is the tribal synergy of Atlanteans. You have Rolling Watcher, Dwarf Atlant, Face Touch Golem, Boost Walker, Spiral Golem, and Shade Walker. Each of these cards buff each other, which can be a problem for your opponent. One of the things to watch out for in this deck is the Face Touch Golem. This Atlantean creature, if left on the board, gives ward to all the other Atlanteans, which makes them very difficult to take care of. And later on, at 7 mana, you have Helia coming in to give ward to the other creatures. Besides the Atlantean package, you have Switch Duelist, and you have Strong Removal to control the board, Sleep Dart, Hunting Traps, Umber Arrows. At 24 wins, we have Control Ramp Magic. You have your usual ramp cards, Sip of Elixir, Guardian of the Gates, Manitoads. One thing I noticed about this deck is there's a little bit more emphasis on fighting for the board early on. You have Arcane Transcendent, which is a 3 mana 3/3, which helps fight for the board. You have Palace, which will delve a spell, and once it hits the board, your opponent usually tries to clear it right away. You have Faraday Cage, which is a cheaper Crystal Rain. Crystal Rain hits at 5 mana. Faraday Cage can hit at 4 mana, doing 2 damage to your opponent's creatures. There's also the Spiral Golem, a 6 mana 8/10 that attacks a random creature. So I think the Spiral Golem is a good response to an opponent's Green Giant. A Green Giant having 8 health and Spiral Golem having 8th attack with 10 health. And then as you ramp up and control the board, you have your usual strong endgame, Ashen Drake, Demogorgon, Hylian Elite, and Echophon with Avatar of Magic. The best Death deck had 23 wins. This one's Board Wipe Death deck. The main focus of this deck is to ramp and draw early on. You have several cards that help do that. And then you transition to several board clears. You have Dust to Dust, Black Blood Blast, a couple copies of Apocalypse Now and End Times. And then you have single target removals with Amazon Heart Eater and Reap. As you ramp and control the board, you transition to your late game, which is very strong with 2 Demogorgons, Hylian Elite, Tiet, Echophon, Trial of the Underworld to bring everything back, and 2 copies of Race Dead. The best light deck finished with 23 wins. This one's our usual Zoo light deck. One thing I did notice is that this deck has now curved a little bit lower to keep up with the faster nature meta. You have 2 copies of Netherborn Binder, which is a 1 mana 2/3 that helps contest the board. You have the Golden Harp, which provides frontline creatures and heals them. And then you have your usual endgame with Isidora and Asterius. We had 2 war decks that tied with 21 wins each, and both of them are different from each other. On the left side here, we have a mid-range / control war deck that uses the God Power Slayer. You have good early presence, trying to fight for the board and survive. You have a couple good removal spells to control the board with Auric Rush, Avalanche Strike. You have mid-game creatures that help control the board like Manicure Hulks, Wetland Ogre, Hylian Blade Master. And then you have a board clear with Carnage Sweep. And then you transition to the end game. Hopefully by then, you're able to take control and finish it out with Porphyrion, Hector, and Ares Runeblade. If you want fast war games, on the right side, we have an Enrage aggro deck, with this one having an Atlantean twist. There's a couple of Atlantean cards here for the tribal synergy. You have Broken Harvester on turn 1, Rolling Watchers, Dwarf Atlant, Face Touch Golem, and Boost Walker. Again, the Atlantean tribal synergy provides support for each Atlantean card. They complement and buff each other. And combined with Enrage, the Atlantean creatures will be hard to take care of since they'll have Ward. Taking a look at our meta, Magic is back with positive win rates across the board except versus Death, sitting at 52% win rate. So what I've noticed is that Death can be fast enough to burn Magic down before they can do their board clears and late ramp. So with Death sporting a positive win rate against Magic, it's actually viable in our meta, coming in at second, also with a 52% win rate, positive across all the gods except for Deception. Nature is still decent, sitting with a 51.5% win rate overall. A couple of things is how polarizing the Nature matchup is. It has a 60% chance to win versus Deception and War. So if you're playing Deception or War, that's going to be a tough matchup for you. Same thing with Magic. Magic has an almost 60% win rate versus War. All right, so here's our top players again. Just a reminder, our packs will be distributed later this week. However, those will just be the core pack rewards. Keep in mind that we've started accruing and earning packs for the next expansion set. And since it's still unannounced, we are just earning those and those won't be distributed. All right, congratulations to our top players and good luck when we receive our packs.